Welcome back to the Night More podcast. My name is Kosi. Welcome back to a brand new video. Liverpool have agreed a £34.2 million deal to sign Ryan Gravenberch from Bayern Munich, and that is what I call a real signing in midfield. Liverpool are cooking something very special this season by signing Dominic Szoboszlai, Alexis McAllister, Wataru Endo, and now Ryan Gravenberch. We should be watching out for Liverpool this campaign. In this video, I'm going to be diving into who Ryan Gravenberch is and exactly how Liverpool will set up with him in that midfield. He brings a lot of things into this side: quality, a lot of experience at a very young age. By the way, at only 20, he's already a champion with Erik ten Hag at Ajax in 2020, 2021, and 2021-2022 in the Dutch Eredivisie. So, what exactly does Ryan Gravenberch bring to Liverpool, and why are they signing him on deadline day? Hit the like button. Let me know in the comment box below if you're a football fan, if you are a Liverpool fan. Do you think this is the signing Liverpool actually needed? Because after splashing 100 million on Moises Caicedo, a deal that actually didn't happen, Liverpool have then signed Wataru Endo and Ryan Gravenberch, two players that are really, really different in terms of profile, but players that you think are not actually what Liverpool absolutely needed in a player like Moises Caicedo. Of course, Wataru Endo is your number 6. He can actually give you that protection for the back line, but as good as Caicedo, probably not. As good as Fabinho, probably not as well. So Liverpool, talk to me. Do you think this is the signing you needed to seal off the transfer window this summer? So who is Ryan Gravenberch and why have Liverpool actually signed him? Ryan Gravenberch is one of the really highly rated players and talents in midfield. He signed from Ajax to Bayern Munich in the summer of 2022, and you thought, and we actually all thought, he was going to become that big thing. However, that double pivot of Goretzka and Kimmich has just made sure that Gravenberch doesn't get enough time at Bayern, and therefore, one season after, he has signed for Liverpool. He signed on a free to Bayern, and somehow Liverpool have just paid 34 million. So Bayern have made a huge profit on him. They got him for nothing, and they've just got 34 million out of his sale. But for Liverpool, it's gonna be very interesting what they're gonna get out of Ryan Gravenberch, and why I think this could be a much better deal than Wataru Endo and Alexis McAllister combined, in my opinion. So he's such a young player, 20 years of age, Dutch international. You will have seen him at the World Cup. You will have seen him in a couple of World Cup qualifiers as well for the Netherlands, and you will see him continuously growing for Liverpool and also growing for the Netherlands, because one of the best 8s actually at that age that you can actually trust. Now, he's been compared with a couple of players in his profile. Of course, the likes of the big boys in Jude Bellingham, the big boys in Alexis McAllister. But I think Ryan Gravenberch is slightly different from all these players, and he's got something very special. And that thing is why everyone has been linking him and actually liking him to Patrick Vieira. He's got that physicality, and he's got that ability and confidence to drive the ball and carry the ball from deeper areas into advanced areas. He's played more in a 4-3-3 under managers like Erik ten Hag, and probably would struggle in a 4-2-3-1 in that double pivot, especially at Bayern, and that's why Goretzka and Kimmich actually dominated the midfield while he was there. But at Liverpool, I want to warn everyone in that position: Curtis Jones, Harvey Elliott. This guy is going to be a real contender for that spot. Ryan Gravenberch is a talent. He was wanted by Man United. Obviously, the link between him and Erik ten Hag, we all thought he was going to go back to the roots, just like Anthony, just like Lisandro Martinez. But the player decided that he will go to Liverpool and make a career there. So what are his strengths and what are his weaknesses, and how will Liverpool actually play with him? I think his biggest strength, if you ask me as a person, and if you read around and made your research, it's about ball carrying. He really is a very good ball carrier, and Liverpool need a player like that. Now, I like Dominic Szoboszlai. He's more like your number 10. He's got that ability to create as many chances as he can. Bruno Fernandes kind of style, but he's not your box-to-box player. He's not that kind of player that can actually impact the game the way Ryan Gravenberch does. brings control, and can create a lot of chances from deeper areas. Now he's going to really look like McAllister, and probably many people will actually think that he's coming into this Liverpool side just to provide that kind of squad depth. Liverpool do have the Europa League, and therefore they have a couple of games, and those games are going to be quite compact. Thursday, Europa League, and Sunday, the Premier League, or if they're lucky, Monday. So if you have only 2 days of resting, or 2.5 days of resting, then you might need at least 2 players per position, and that is what Liverpool are trying to achieve in this window. So let's get to the tactics board and look at how this guy would impact Liverpool's starting 11 and how Jurgen Klopp would actually line up with him. So this season, this is what we've seen from Liverpool, and this is what we anticipate will actually go on at the club. You have Alisson in goal. You have a back four of Robertson, Virgil van Dijk, Konate, and Trent Alexander-Arnold. Of course, we know Trent Alexander-Arnold loves to drift into midfield in these positions here. That is a no-brainer. It's no secret as well. Wataru Endo will be your number 6 as Fabinho has gone. Dominic Szoboszlai obviously is going to be drifting into this middle ground here, and at times drifting on the right-hand side very much into the spaces, because that is where he actually operates. And McAllister, who actually has been tasked to play as a defensive midfielder earlier on in this Liverpool career before signing Endo, is going to be your box-to-box player. And I think with Alexis McAllister, you have a very good profile there. You have a player who can actually defend very well, a player who can actually progress the ball very well, and a player who is happy to get into the penalty area and score a couple of goals, penalties, free kicks, and also create some good chances. Now, up top, I think Diaz is nailed on. I think Darwin Núñez is nailed on as well, although he's not started any games for Liverpool this campaign. Eventually, this system, I believe, has been set up to accommodate Darwin Núñez, and we've already seen that in the Newcastle game. He came on and changed the game. He was absolutely vital and key for them to pick up the 3 points. Mohamed Salah, obviously Liverpool have just turned down a £200 million deal for him to go to Al Ittihad, which is actually very crazy, and that means he's a very crucial player and untouchable. Most of the progressive passes from Liverpool players actually go into this guy. They go into this son in Mohamed Salah. So if you really think they were going to sell Mohamed Salah on deadline day, you are absolutely kidding. So with that, the question is, how does then Ryan Gravenberch fit into this Liverpool side? How are they going to use him? And will he actually be a success? Because at Bayern, we could actually argue that he wasn't such a big success. Will he be a success at Liverpool? So let's get into it. First and foremost, the first thing you've got to think about is how he has played under Erik Ten Hag. He's played in the 4-3-3 with Edson Alvarez at the best of the midfield at Ajax, and then him playing right here where Alexis McAllister is. So Ryan Gravenberch playing as your number 8, your box-to-box. So if Liverpool ever decided to play a double pivot in any game with Wataru Endo and Ryan Gravenberch, that would push Dominic Szoboszlai into this typical number 10 role, and you'd have a 4-2-3-1 system or a 4-2-1-3 system, which Liverpool actually, I think, this season will thrive on. So first and foremost, he would be playing as a number 8, and this is where most of his strength. This is where much of his strength actually is. I think Jurgen Klopp as a manager has got the ability and capability to bring out the best of Ryan Gravenberch. So when he picks up the ball in these areas, he's got that ability, he's got that passing range just to look for Diaz, to look for Salah, as well, to look for the run of Darwin Núñez, or even just to play these mini passes in midfield with Wataru Endo, with Robertson, who will be making this kind of overlap ahead of him, and with the likes of Konate, if he decides to shift into midfield, or even if Trent decides to come into midfield. Ryan Gravenberch has got that ability just to play the short passes accurately and the long passes accurately as well. So for Liverpool, a side that are actually going to be looking to play on the transition, that is what Jurgen Klopp is setting them to do. You look at Darwin Núñez, he's a transition player. You look at Luis Diaz, he's a transition player. You look at Dominic Szoboszlai, he is a transition player as well. So Liverpool are not looking to keep the ball for the bigger parts of the time. They're actually looking to build up, to set up a kind of set that can actually hurt teams on the transition. That is where players like Ryan Gravenberch would actually be better than Alexis McAllister. So McAllister is a brilliant player, but he prefers to carry the ball himself, and he prefers the short passes that are a little bit safer as compared to Ryan Gravenberch. Gravenberch has got the passing range. He's got that ability to go, how about I found Salah with this range? And he will do it, and he will execute it very, very well. But then also the other thing you think about Ryan Gravenberch, he's got the engine, he's got the ability just to drive through, just to pick up the ball in these areas. Let's get the ball right there. Okay, so you would get the ball from these areas, and then he's got the ability just to carry it from here to the advanced area, to the penalty area of the opponent. That is something that many teams are trying to look for in players this campaign. You look at Arsenal, they have that in Declan Rice. It has cost them 100 million for a player that can actually do that. Obviously, Declan Rice has more to his game than Ryan Gravenberch, and Gravenberch is still a younger player as compared to Declan Rice. But you get the point, and you get what I'm talking about. The other thing, of course, you have to think about Ryan Gravenberch, apart from his ball carriage and his passing range, is he is an elite ball, I think you would say ball keeper. He's one of the players that are really happy to keep the ball in tight spaces. He's one of the players that you can trust the ball with in tight spaces. And if you keep the ball with him, he will actually keep it and he will not lose it. So Liverpool, as they try to play on the transition, Ryan Gravenberch, first and foremost, replacing McAllister, could be a huge option. But then the other thing we've seen with Liverpool, especially under Jurgen Klopp, is the fact that at times they have played without a defensive midfielder, especially in the first 2 games of the campaign, where Wataru Endo was actually not in the side and Alexis McAllister played as the pivot. So we could see a double pivot of Ryan Gravenberch and McAllister together, plus Dominic Szoboszlai obviously slightly ahead of them as the advanced creative option. What I like about this personally is you have 2 players that really, really work hard on and off the ball. Actually, 3 players in midfield that work hard on and off the ball. But look at that when Liverpool are in possession. Out of possession, maybe it's a little bit susceptible. Gravenberch ball winning skills are not yet to the maximum. Dominic Szoboszlai obviously doesn't win the ball back, but he presses very well. But Alexis McAllister here, guys, is an absolute monster when it comes to pressing and winning the ball back. And of course, he's got the engine to travel this midfield and just make sure everything is right and everything is covered. So I won't be surprised to see Wataru Endo much of the time to the bench, and then Ryan Gravenberch, Alexis McAllister, and Dominic Szoboszlai actually starting. Liverpool obviously means that their midfield will be a little bit susceptible. You have these passing lanes unprotected. You'd have a lot of this space unprotected as well, and with the likes of Trent Alexander-Arnold stepping into midfield, it means that this side we might be unprotected as well. But what this would do for Liverpool is creativity. I think Gravenberch has got a key pass in him every single game. Dominic Szoboszlai 1.5 to 2.5 key passes every single game, and McAllister 1.5 to 2 or 1.8 key passes for him every single campaign. And of course, this would let Trent Alexander-Arnold shift into the midfield, a position that actually he fancies and he loves. We've seen him do that, shifting from this right-hand side of the defense just to come into the inside here. And of course, you don't want him into these advanced areas as Trent Alexander-Arnold. You want him around here. So this would actually work for him because Dominic Szoboszlai loves to shift to the right-hand side between Salah and Darwin Núñez or Salah and Cody Gakpo. McAllister then would become your double pivot with Trent Alexander-Arnold, and they can push Ryan Gravenberch into this role, into that pocket of space on the left-hand side between Diaz and Darwin Núñez. So Trent Alexander-Arnold, because he really struggles in 1v1 situations in this area here at right back, it means that you can play him in this area just to allow him, you know, that defensive, that midfield defensive role, which I think in the future we might see Trent become a DM rather than a right back. Obviously, this means that Liverpool and their defense would have to shift across, with Konate, Virgil van Dijk, and Robertson forming a back three. So that is one way or two ways how Ryan Gravenberch would set up in this Liverpool side, and he would actually be an absolute success. But the other way I think Liverpool actually have to set up with Ryan Gravenberch, and how he would actually be more unpredictable as compared to all these other players that we have actually seen sign for them, is if Jurgen Klopp played him either as a right midfielder or a left midfielder for that case. So we know that Liverpool used very high and wide wingers, like Diaz pins the fullbacks to this left hand side, and Salah pins the fullback to the right hand side as well. But just imagine in one game where Diaz can actually be exchanged with a player like Ryan Gravenberch. Of course, Ryan Gravenberch wouldn't be stretching in these areas here. That's not where he actually operates a lot of the time, but he would be slightly inside the midfield. So you can use him as a right midfielder. They can also use him as a left midfielder. That means that you can still play Wataru Endo, Dominic Szoboszlai, and McAllister, and then you have Ryan Gravenberch on the same side. His quality, he's a player that I think Liverpool fans are going to love. He's a player that I think the Premier League will eventually love if you are actually a football fan. You've got to let me know in the comment box below what you think about Ryan Gravenberch. Good signing? In my opinion, yes. Now, Liverpool, is it what they needed? Probably not to the maximum. They needed quality. They needed depth in that area. They've done it, but that 34.2 million would get you an Edson Alvarez prior to him joining West Ham from Ajax. That same amount of money would get you Youssef Fofana from Monaco. So Liverpool, is this a very good deal, or is this a deal that you think should have come a little bit later after you getting a good DM? Let me know in the comment box below, and I'll speak to you right in the next one.